Okay. Good afternoon and welcome to the North Bend City Council work session for March 24th. It's 4:30 p.m. here in the council chambers. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order and ask our city recorder to help us with a roll call.
Councillor Jones.
Present.
Councillor Hamilton.
Here.
Councillor Garland.
Here.
Mayor Eaglekey.
Here.
Councillor Schultz.
Present.
Councillor Torres. Here. Thank you.
All right. After calling the meeting to order, I'm going to go ahead and move to item 3, which is public comment. Thank you. Actually, do we have anybody for public comment this evening? We do not. Nobody here, no online. You're welcome every week, whether it be the work session or the council meeting, to come to our public comment. Seeing there's no public comment, we'll move on to number 4, which is our semi-annual Visitor and Convention Bureau presentation. We have some information on page 1, and I believe we have a presentation.
Madam Mayor, City Council members, city staff and guests. It's always a pleasure to speak with you about what's happening with the Visitor and Convention Bureau and the tourism industry in our area. I will say that you have these slides. I'm not going to go through every one of them with my 10-minute time limit, but I wanted you to have them. So quick recap of our budget. A reminder that when I started in 2017, our annual budget was about $360,000. We are now at 1.577 million. And that is from a lot of factors, adding to the lodging tax, having now Coos County for the Charleston area included. We are at about 62% to budget for income and only about 45% to budget for expenses. So we're doing quite well so far. I wanted to share this with you. This is a look at how destinations become not only full of quality of life for those who live there, but become a place that people want to live. When you build a place that people want to live, you've built a place where people have to work. And then if you build a place where people have to work, then you've built a place where people want to invest, which then builds a place that people want to visit. So it's cyclical. And part of what we do as a destination marketing organization is helping to maintain that brand and helping our local communities to create this livability. North Bend is doing an awesome job with your Main Street manager and program and all that has been happening down in the downtown core. So lots for us to promote. As a reminder, tourism is a $14 billion industry for the state of Oregon, supports 118,000 jobs. For Coos County, visitors spend about $330 million, which was an increase in the last time that we have data for. We'll get new data for 2024 in about May. And that spending supports 3,800 jobs. For Coos Bay, North Bend, and Charleston alone, we garner about 40% of all of that county visitor spending at about $148 million. That also supports 2,100 local jobs. We started calculating our return on investment of what the Visitor and Convention Bureau obtains or maintains as far as visitor spending is concerned. While we would love to be able to say that we influence all $147 million of visitor spending, we know that that is not correct. So we take a very conservative approach and estimate that about 15% or $20 million of visitor spending in our area can be attributed to our advertising and marketing, which returns a $27.50 return on investment to our local businesses and our local entities through tax collections. A few words about the lodging tax. So before the state law went into effect in 2003, anybody who had a lodging tax in place, that lodging tax was grandfathered in at the split at which it was. The city of Coos Bay and the city of North Bend both had a lodging tax at 7%, and 72% of that lodging tax went to the taxing entities, so the cities, with 28% going to the VCB or the entity that was doing tourism promotion at the time. In 2019, we added 2.5%. The 2.5% is now subject to that 2003 law, where 70% of the collections go to tourism promotions, while 30% stays with the taxing entity. But when you combine our lodging tax, as I've done here at 9.5%, the taxing entities of Coos Bay and North Bend keep 61% of all lodging taxes collected, while the Visitor and Convention Bureau receives about 39%. So who benefits from tourism? You've got your obvious businesses, your hotels, your restaurants, your recreation businesses and outfitters, and your attractions. But retail shops, grocery stores, artisans and craftsmen who exhibit at our fairs and festivals, gas stations, hair and nail salons, but also auto repair shops, car dealerships, home improvement companies, and insurance agents. And you're going to say, well, I've never known a tourist to buy a car when they came on vacation. That is correct. I just bought a car at Coos Bay Toyota. So not only do the obvious businesses benefit from tourism, but those of us, the 2,100 of us who work in this industry in our 3 communities, benefit other businesses. So in reality, every business in our community has some benefit from tourism in our community. We have some big projects coming up. I'm sure you all know that the Denver flight is going daily from OTH, and we are going to do a large advertising campaign in the Denver market to encourage people to fly direct to the Oregon coast. Now, while Bandon Dunes does take a lion's share of the seats on these planes, they are going to do their own advertising for the Gulf market. We're going to be trying to get those other folks who may not have thought about coming to the Oregon coast or didn't want to fly into a Eugene or a Portland and have to drive. So now we're giving them an option. You can fly direct to the Oregon coast. So that starts this month, in fact. Yep. I'm sorry. So the flight will start in May and goes to October. So it starts May 22nd-ish and goes to October 26th. And that's daily. Up until now, it has only been 2 days a week. So to go from 2 days to 7 days is a big coup for our area. The League of Oregon Cities is having their May conference here, and we are working with, of course, the city of North Bend and the Mill to host this. We are working with a bunch of local businesses to create 300 welcome bags to give to all of the attendees at the conference. We're very excited to have them. We're also going to be hosting the Oregon Regional Special Olympics competitions for track and field and bocce ball on Saturday, June the 21st. They will need 75 to 100 volunteers, so we'll be looking to people to help us with these regionals. This is the first time they have moved the regionals out of Ashland, and so we're very excited about having them here. Our big project from the VCB standpoint is we are redesigning our website. We haven't redesigned the website since 2018. We are going to be adding a lot of accessibility features and went after a Travel Oregon grant to help cover the costs of those because they are quite costly to make a website completely accessible to all. And then these are just some recent things that we have had in our ad plan. Some print materials, although we do very little print advertising now. And when we do, we usually include a QR code so that people will scan it and see a video or come to our website. We've done a lot of, in the winter, of course, storm watching and the ice skating rink are big for us. Of course, as we were just announcing or unveiling our storm watching campaign, the road washed out at Shore Acres. So we had to pull all of that back. And as we did that, we started really promoting our 2 major winter events, the Crab Feed and the Clam Bake Music Festival. And finally, we will, as normal, host our Travel and Tourism Week Luncheon. I hope that you will all put this on your calendar. You are all invited. It's May the 7th. The Visitor and Convention Bureau covers the cost of lunch. This does happen during the Chamber of Commerce's Wednesday Business Connection. We just start a little earlier because we have so many people that do come to this luncheon. Todd Davidson with Travel Oregon will be our keynote speaker. And that's my presentation. Look, I almost have 2 minutes left.
Wow, that means Larry gets to ask 2 extra questions.
Well, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Slide in there about Oscar Shorts. Was that just a
Oh,
moment?
so that was that's just the page that I captured when I was doing the slide. So that was an event that we helped to promote at the Egyptian Theater.
Okay.
It was in February. Yeah, so they are one of only a handful of theaters that play those Oscar shorts right before the Oscars happen every year.
Any questions from the council?
Thank you all so much. We appreciate all the support that we get from the city of North Bend and our city councilors. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate your presentation. All right, okay, so that takes us to reviewing the city. Reviewing the city council agenda for March 25th. That's item 5, and we'll go ahead and take a look at the agenda here. I think I'll go ahead and ask the city administrator to kind of help walk us through this. I see we'll start out with the consent calendar tomorrow.
Yes, that's the Public Works.
Lateral camera.
That present on those 2 items that are on the consent calendar.
Lateral camera and purchase of annual wastewater line.
Both items are fairly straightforward. Our lateral camera is a small camera, fit in a 4-inch pipe. We run 60,000 feet. We camera 60,000 feet main line on the average in a year. So that stuff tends to wear out. The lateral, probably we do, I'd say 7,000 to 8,000 feet. Our camera's about 10 years old. It's glitching right now, so right in the middle of it. But it's one of those solid state items. Once it starts to break, it just gets worse and worse, and they can't cut it and splice it. It's done. We do provide free to residents and to businesses. We will TV their lateral. We get people have problems after they had Roto-Rooter in there. A lot of times we camera it for them afterwards, or we get a lot of people who are selling their house. Somebody wants to look at their, believe it or not, wants to look at their sewer before they buy the house as a due diligence item. So any of you can call the wastewater department and schedule your lateral to be videoed. I think Jenny has actually done that in the past. She's the only counselor I know that has. But
Indeed, and it was much appreciated.
that's what it's for. It's mostly broke right now. It does work, but we need to replace it. Got 3 quotes. Low bid on the system was $9,700 and some dollars here. It is. And the other item is our annual replacement, which the wastewater collections department does. We work 2 ways. Basically, everything 8 to 9 feet or shallower, we look at doing in-house, because we run on our overall replacement costs, including replacing the surface, at around $250 a foot, or we contract it out, which is usually deeper, and we run anywhere from $400 to $500 a foot when we contract it out. So we're not anticipating, we're only looking at about 700 feet this year on this year's schedule, because that's the amount we have that's in our depth range on the schedule. And you see this every year, we have to buy the materials before the summer season starts, and this year less than normal, because usually we're about $15,000, but just under 10,000 this year.
Is it cheaper because we're doing less, but normally it does approximately 100 or 1,200 feet of pipeline annually? Or did you just get?
Ours, we're cheaper per foot. A, we're not making money on it.
Yeah.
And B, there's not as much risk, even if we're not. I shouldn't say there's not as much risk. It's the same risk, but if you're bidding it to do a project, you both have risk and profit. So they're going to cover themselves a little more than we do. Plus we're shallower, so it's a little easier system to deal with. I'm not picking on contractors doing it at all. It's just, we don't have the profit and risk factored in, and like I said, it's shallower, so it's less work.
Okay, any other questions from the council? Okay. Anything else for us for tomorrow?
Just a second. Number 5 is resolution number 3363. This normally would just be housekeeping, but it's a resolution. And so we have an existing franchise agreement with Simply Fiber. There is a name change over to BCE Holding Corporation. And so the city attorney and myself reviewed them. And so this is a resolution to authorize moving the franchise agreement over to the new name. You all may recall, you got an email from me probably a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, that I was sitting on this, and it paid off because they finally took care of the resident and did her whole sidewalk, and she's happy now. As soon as I got that notification, from Mr. Gary Haynes, immediately let Zipley know that, I would get this before the council, so it's ready to move.
Okay, great, thank you.
Then we go back to Mr. Rao, who
Yeah.
talked about his, risers.
So we're requesting we purchase adjustable manhole risers. If you've ever driven Oak Street, part of Ash, you'll see that there's a lot of manholes, maybe low, high. On our steeper streets, what typically happens is even though we adjust them to the asphalt grade, they grout it, which is not necessarily as strong, or they try to get it adjusted. They tend to break with time that grout breaks out, manholes settle. As we're not anticipate doing as much mainline replacement this year, wastewater is looking at replacing some manhole frames and covers to get rid of some, I call them purposeful potholes, as you see them. I mean, Oak Street's a perfect example. If you looked at the intersection of Ash and Newmark, there's one there. That's those ones that people drive around to avoid. And so we're gonna adjust manholes. These are a little more expensive. Standard framing grates, about $300 to buy them with the adjustable rim system. They're averaging a little over $500, but we'll replace the ones that are problems and hopefully keeps our streets in better condition and less bumps for the traveling public.
Makes sense. Any other questions?
Have you bought rim risers before?
We haven't, I've seen them installed in one other city. They're pretty self-explanatory, pretty easy to adjust. As far as their longevity though, we're counting on their word, on that, but.
Okay, thank you.
Questions? So that really concludes pretty much all the things that we have on the agenda for the council meeting tomorrow night. We'll have action, if any, resulting in the executive session, your city administrator's report, any committee reports, council comments, and then that'll be about it. So going back to our work session agenda today, what we have left is number 6, which is an executive session. And the North Bend City Council will now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 192-6602I, to review and evaluate the employment-related performance of the chief executive officer of any public body. A public officer, employee, or staff member who does not request an open hearing. Relatives or representatives of the news, media, and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. So, to the city reporter,